Arrows sliced through the morning mist before the first cry could leave a soldier's throat, and the royal patrol dissolved into screams and blood.
Another sealed log. Another patrol wiped out near the Thornwood border. Routine, they claim. But look, here, in the coordinate notation. The cipher key would translate this as an ambush point, not a patrol route. My throat aches with every breath. The scar remembers. Silence is survival, but these dead soldiers have no voice at all. I've seen this before. Fallen squads, always commanded by officers who openly criticized the crown. This isn't incompetence. These are execution orders, disguised as administrative error. Someone inside the royal scribes is deliberately falsifying the logs to kill dissenters. If I sit here and do nothing, I am complicit. But if I expose this, the king will brand me a traitor.
Night after night, Orin pieced together the algorithm, linking fallen officers to their criticisms. The logs condemned the crown's enemies while the king smiled.
I have a cipher key and decoded proof. Magistrate Leanne will listen. She has to.
By candlelight, Orin compiled his report, the cipher key attached like a declaration of war.
Every line of ink is a step closer to treason. But silence is no longer survival. It is complicity.
He slipped the sealed report beneath Magistrate Leanne's chamber door, the corridor heavy with the weight of what came next.
Orin, you've never asked for a private audience. What could possibly justify this urgency?
Without a word, Orin placed the report and cipher key before her, his scarred throat a reminder of the silence he could not break.
These translated coordinates, they don't align with any approved patrol route. Are you certain these logs are authentic?
She sees it. The deliberate misalignment. Each fallen squad walked into a kill zone written into their own orders.
If this is true, the crown has been executing its own critics. This pattern goes beyond error. It's systematic murder.
Before she could continue, the chamber door splintered under heavy boots. Royal guards flooded in, swords already drawn.
They knew. They were always going to be here. The trap was not in the logs, it was in the telling.
The royal guards seized Orin, tearing the documents from his hands as Leanne shouted for them to stop.
These charges are baseless. He only sought to report a clerical oversight.
The lead guard silenced her with a glare. The king had already judged Orin guilty. By dawn, King Aldrich proclaimed his verdict. Orin was a traitor, and the brand would be his proof.
This mute schemer poisoned our kingdom with lies. Let the brand mark him a traitor for all to see.
The square filled with jeering faces. Guards stripped Orin's rank, forcing him to kneel before the red-hot brand. The iron pressed down, and the crowd's roar drowned out the sizzle of his flesh. The crowd cursed his name, their fury masking the king's secret guilt. Guards dragged him from the square and threw him into the deepest cell, the door slamming shut.
In the darkness, the only sound was the echo of the crowd's hate.
Sarah had watched from the shadows as the guards dragged Orin away, his silence louder than any scream.
He gave me the cipher once, said it was the key to the kingdom's lies. I have to find it.
That night, she slipped into the empty archive, heart pounding, and crept past the familiar scrolls.
Where did he keep the extra key? The bottom drawer.
She found the cipher, folded inside an old log, forgotten by the guards, who tore through his desk.
This is the proof. With this, the network can decode the logs and expose the truth.
She tucked the paper into her robe and slipped away. The first seed of rebellion, hidden against her heart.
Commander Heron, I have something that proves your soldiers weren't lost by accident. Orin decoded the logs. The king murdered them. This cipher is the key to proving it.
He stared at the cipher, and his calloused hands shook with the first hope in years. Within a week, bulletins appeared on the barracks board, decoded logs exposing the ambush coordinates.
Look at this garbage. Some traitor lover thinks we'll believe fairy tales about the king.
Captain Wren watched in silence, his eyes fixed on the coordinates, a chill creeping up his spine.
I know those coordinates. That was Sergeant Vallen's last patrol and unavoidable ambush, they said.
Wren pulled an official log from his pocket, comparing its coded route to the bulletin's claim.
If this is true, Vallen didn't just die. He was sent to die.
He folded the bulletin carefully, slipping it into his armor, a weight settling in his chest.
Captain, you are not taking that nonsense seriously, are you? It's just a desperate fool's last lie.
I am just keeping it as evidence of the sedition. Nothing more.
The lie tasted bitter, but Ren knew the truth had already begun to crack his loyalty. 3 nights later, Sarah crept through the garrison alley, a fresh bulletin clutched in her hand.
Just one more. Every post spreads the truth a little farther.
A sudden scrape of boots echoed behind her. 2 royal spies rounded the corner, torches raised.
Don't move. The shadows are deep enough. They'll pass.
One spy paused inches from her hiding spot, his torch licking the stone, then turned away. Before they could double back, Captain Ren strode into the alley, his voice cutting through the tense air.
You too are in the wrong district. I just received word of a suspect near the east gate.
The spies exchanged a glance, then hurried off, their torches vanishing around the bend.
Next time, I won't be able to help, but I am not your enemy.
He knows. He's not loyal to the crown anymore.
Late that night, Ren descended to the dungeons, a folded bulletin hidden in his palm. He knelt by Oren's cell and slid the paper through the bars, his eyes meeting Oren's in the dim torchlight.
A decoded log with my cipher. Someone is spreading the truth.
I'll guard your back. The truth is no longer silent.
For the first time since the brand, hope flickers in my chest.
The next morning, Guard Finn swaggered toward the cell, a cruel grin on his face.
Still rotting, traitor? The executioner will enjoy your neck. The crowd already cheers for it.
Before Finn could spit again, Captain Ren stepped between him and the bars, hand on sword.
Walk away, Finn. If you so much as breathe near this cell again, you'll answer to me.
Ren didn't just protect me. He chose a side.
At dawn, Sarah pinned her last bulletin to the officer's mess board, her hood low, her heart steady. Then 4 royal spies stepped out of the mist.
You are too late. The cipher is in dozens of hands.
They struck her down, bound her wrists, and dragged her away. The bulletin lay shredded in the mud. Ren heard the news from a runner. A cold stone lodged in his throat as the guilt took root.
She trusted me to keep her safe. I sent the spies away before, but this time I wasn't there.
In the dungeon, Oren caught the mocking whispers. The archivist who spread the treason had been caught.
Sarah, the girl who saved the cipher. They'll make her pay for every log I decoded.
The cell seemed to shrink around him, the brand on his skin pulsing with a phantom heat.
I dared to hope, and now her blood is on my hands. The darkness is all that's left.
Above, Ren stood motionless, the fragile plan now hanging by a thread. The king's interrogation chamber was cold and silent, lit only by a single torch where Sarah knelt, beaten but unbroken.
I'll give you nothing. Every word Oren wrote is true, and the kingdom will learn it.
You will name your accomplices, or I'll have the scribes invent a confession in your hand.
He summoned Scribe Voss, the eldest and most trusted scholar in the kingdom, to examine the captured cipher. Voss smoothed the paper with trembling, ink-stained fingers, his spectacles magnifying the symbols he knew too well.
This is the same notation from Oren's original logs. It matches the patrol anomalies perfectly. The cipher is authentic. Your Majesty, I cannot refute this. The cipher matches the logs exactly.
Then you are a traitor too. Guards, take this old fool to the cells and burn that paper.
The nearby guards exchanged glances, the truth lodging in their throats, like a stone. The king's rage could not unring the bell. The cipher's truth had found its first irrevocable crack in the crown. And the guards were listening. The king's decree spread like poison. At dawn, the traitor, Oren, would die before the assembled crowd. In the barracks, Captain Ren caught the murmurs. Soldiers no longer mocked the traitor. They questioned the logs themselves.
If the captains already doubt, one spark is all it would take. Tomorrow must not be a funeral.
That night, in a storage room behind the armory, Ren faced 3 captains. The decoded logs passed hand to hand in grim silence.
When dawn comes, the muster will be called. We will not move. The whole regiment must stand still.
The captains agreed, fists on hearts. The rebellion would be a single refusal, not a blade drawn. Before the first light, Ren paused at Orin's cell. He gave a single nod, a promise that did not need a voice.
Ren's eyes held something I hadn't seen before. A battle not yet lost.
Alone, Orin watched the first gray light seep through the barred window. The execution ground waited, silent and patient.
This might be my last dawn, but I am not alone.
Guards dragged Orin into the morning light, chains scraping the stone as the crowd's roar washed over him.
The brand on my skin throbs under the sun, but Ren's nod echoes louder than the hate.
King Aldrich raised a hand, silencing the square. This traitor forged logs to break our peace. Today, silence fails him.
Let his death be a lesson. No lie can outrun the blade of a just crown.
From her cell window, Sarah pressed her face to the bars, tears cutting paths through the grime.
I led him to this, all my efforts, and I can't even watch him die with dignity.
The executioner stepped forward, axe glinting, and laid the blade against the block with a hollow thud.
Ren's captains are out there. They won't let the muster happen. I have to trust.
The king gave the signal, and Orin was forced to his knees, the crowd's jeers rising to a fever pitch.
I never needed a voice. The logs will speak louder than the axe.
The officer barked the muster call, but the regiment stood motionless, a wall of refusal under the morning sun. Captain Ren broke formation, 3 captains at his side, decoded logs raised like standards of a new cause.
These logs are not records of loss. They are execution orders. The king murdered his own soldiers, and we have the proof.
A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Jeers died in throats as faces turned from the platform to the standing soldiers.
Ren's voice is the blade that cuts deeper than any axe. The truth is finally striking.
Silence. This is sedition. Guards, seize those traitors. Sergeant Valen's patrol, Commander Heron's squad, they were sent to die by these very orders. The cipher is authentic. Voss confirmed it before the king silenced him.
The crowd's murmurs turned to shouts. Names of the fallen were whispered, then roared. The king's lies were unraveling in real time.
The brand still burns, but it no longer defines me. The people are listening. They're waking up.
King Aldrich stood frozen on his platform, the crown slipping from his mind. As the truth echoed off the ancient stones, the council members rushed to convene in the great hall. The execution ground's chaos spilling into their sanctuary. Captain Ren and 3 fellow captains followed, laying the decoded logs and the cipher key on the ancient oak table.
These documents, deciphered by the branded man you call traitor, prove the king ordered the deaths of his own soldiers.
Guards dragged Voss forward. The old scribe trembled, clutching the very cipher he had authenticated under duress.
I can no longer stay silent. The cipher matches the anomalies. The logs were falsified. Orin's truth is real.
Silence, old fool. Guards, seize these traitors. I will not be questioned.
But the council members did not move. They stared at the king, as if seeing him for the first time. A senior counselor, face ashen, spoke. We must vote. The king's authority is suspended effective immediately.
You dare defy me? I am the crown.
One by one, hands rose. The king's reign crumbled, not by sword, but by the weight of a single cipher. King Aldrich, face purple with rage, screamed for his royal guards to seize the captains and the council. But the guards, led by Captain Ren, did not move. Instead, Ren stepped forward and bowed to the council.
The council has spoken. The crown no longer commands this guard.
The senior counselor rose and declared, King Aldrich is confined to his chambers, pending a full inquiry. Guards, now loyal to the council, stripped the king of his ceremonial sword and led him from the chamber. Outside, the crowd's rage turned from Orin to the king, as word of the council's decision spread like fire. Ren strode onto the execution platform, lifted Orin to his feet, and struck the chains from his wrists.
The chains fall. The brand still burns, but I am no longer a traitor.
Your silence spoke louder than any of us. The kingdom owes you a debt.
Oren stood in the sunlight, a free man, the executioner's block empty behind him. Sarah's cell door swung open. A council guard told her she was free. She ran without hesitation toward the execution ground, breathless. She pushed through the crowd and climbed onto the platform, a crumpled bulletin in her fist.
Look at this log. Your sons and brothers were sent to ambush points, not by the enemy, but by the king's own cipher.
A widow near the front read her husband's name on the decoded list and fell to her knees, a raw scream piercing the square. Her grief ignited the rest. Faces twisted from confusion to fury. Fists rose and a chant began. Justice for the fallen. Death to the tyrant. The words rolled like thunder, shaking the very stones. Oren stood frozen, the cacophony washing over him, until his eyes found Sarah's across the sea of upraised arms.
They heard you, Oren. Your silence never failed them.
She carried my cipher through fire. And now the kingdom is burning, but with truth, not lies.
Without a word, Oren reached out and took her hand, the brand on his skin now a testament, not a shame. The council issued a proclamation. King Aldrich was formally arrested and stripped of all authority. The former traitor Oren was declared innocent.
The words wash over me. I am free. But the logs remain, a wound still bleeding. I could walk away. But then the next decoder might die alone. The cipher must be rebuilt.
He walked alone from the square, past the silenced crowds, to the archive doors that still held his nightmares.
This room saw my disgrace. Now it will see my answer. No more hidden ambush points.
He sat at his old desk, the dust of his imprisonment still clinging to the wood. A blank logbook lay open.
Route north, marker 7. No hidden shifts, no false coordinates, just a safe path home.
He dipped the quill and began to write. For the first time, his hand did not tremble. The ink flowed cleanly, forming the first true patrol road the kingdom had seen in years. As the ink dried, the archive was no longer a tomb for secrets. It was a forge of truth, and Oren was its keeper. 3 days later, he laid a written proposal before the council. Every patrol log must pass through the archive and bear a new overseer's seal. The council read in silence. Then one by one, they signed their approval. The Archive Oversight Office was born. Oren was given a new brass seal, a cipher wheel design, symbolizing truth's unbreakable cycle. He stamped his first official log, a clean patrol route, bearing the overseer's mark. The ink pressed deep.
No hidden shifts, no ambush coordinates, only safe routes now.
Sarah and Captain Wren stood near the doorway, watching the archive transform before their eyes.
It's different now, Wren. The scrolls used to whisper secrets. Now they're shouting the truth.
He did more than save himself. He rebuilt our trust.
The archive bustled with scribes and guards, all now watching over the truth. Oren's silence led the chorus.
This is only the beginning. But for the first time, the future looks like a straight path.
Day by day, Oren combed through the old logs, striking out hidden ambush points with steady strokes.
Each correction doesn't bring back the dead, but it shields the living from another ambush.
In the barracks, soldiers received their first verified orders, relief replacing the old suspicion.
They're not afraid to open the scrolls anymore. Your seal means survival now.
A widow named Marin arrived at the archive, trembling, her husband's old log clutched in her fist. Oren handed her the corrected log, and she collapsed, the truth finally breaking through the grief.
The scar itches, but it no longer silences me. My work speaks.
You gave her back his honor. That's more than any voice could do.
The archive, once a crypt of lies, now breathed with purpose as the kingdom's wounds slowly mended.
The king's trial looms, but for now, the logs are clean. That is enough.
The council chamber fell silent as King Aldrich was led in, chains dragging, his defiance unbroken.
You have no right to judge me. I am the crown's rightful voice.
Oren stepped forward, silent as ever, and placed a thick folder of decoded logs on the table before the council.
These pages hold the proof. No forged lies can escape them now.
Scribe Voss was summoned again. He examined the logs with trembling hands, then nodded.
These logs are the original, unaltered patrol routes. They match the cipher and the ambush coordinates. It is irrefutable.
The counselors murmured among themselves. Then the senior counselor rose to pronounce the verdict. The council finds Aldrich guilty of mass murder and conspiracy. He is sentenced to life imprisonment in the darkest cell. The former king's face twisted with rage, then crumbled into disbelief as the guards tightened the chains. He glared at Orin, but found only a turned back.
Justice is done. I can finally turn my back.
1 week later, the square that had once demanded Orin's death transformed into a sea of banners and cheers. A council herald read the proclamation. The charge of treason was false, and the brand was struck from the royal record. The herald then presented Orin with a new seal of pure brass, the symbol of the royal overseer of logs. The crowd erupted. Chants of silent overseer thundered through the streets, washing away the old curses.
Look at him, Ren. He's not just free. He's finally seen for who he really is.
He was never the traitor they branded. He was the truth they refused to hear.
Orin stood at the center of the platform, the scar on his throat visible, but no longer a mark of shame.
The brand on my skin didn't vanish, but its meaning did. Now it's just a scar, not a label.
In the crowd, Sarah and Ren exchanged a look of quiet triumph. Their silence had become a roar. As the ceremony closed, Orin gave a single, solemn nod, the only acknowledgement he ever needed to give. Days later, the archive hummed with quiet efficiency. Orin sat at his desk, a stack of verified logs at his side. A young soldier approached, nervous but determined. Orin handed him a sealed patrol log, the cipher wheel stamp clearly visible.
Another safe route. Each one is a promise the past won't repeat.
It never gets old. Seeing them leave with hope instead of dread.
The soldier offered a crisp salute. Though Orin could not speak, the acknowledgement was clear in his eyes.
A salute is louder than any word I could say. He knows.
Sarah caught his eye from across the room and smiled softly. The archive was a sanctuary now.
The truth finally has a permanent home, and so do we.
Orin brushed his fingers over the seal on the logbook, a quiet testament to all that had been rebuilt. Outside the window, the kingdom moved forward, one honest patrol route at a time. 1 year later, the archive was peaceful. The scent of ink replaced the old shadow of fear. Sarah placed a fresh log before Orin. The patrol routes were clean, the coordinates verified.
Another clean patrol, Overseer. The soldiers will march without fear.
Orin pressed his seal into the wax, the cipher wheel design a silent vow of protection.
No more hidden deaths. No more coded lies. Just honest routes home.
Her words are my voice. The silence here is filled with purpose now.
Orin looked out the window, the kingdom stretching under a peaceful sky.
We did it together. The truth finally has a permanent home.
Where once only treason echoed, the loudest sound was the scratch of honest quills. The afternoon light caught the overseer's seal, brass glowing like a beacon of hope.